Do you ever feel totally optimistic about the world, and then maybe deeply cynical, sometimes all in the same day? Well, the visionary artist William Blake believed these feelings aren't contradictions. He thought they were two essential parts of what makes us human. So today, let's explore two of his most famous poems that really capture these contrary states of the human soul. Okay, so first up, let's meet the man himself, William Blake. He lived in England from 1757 to 1827. And he wasn't just a poet, oh no. He was an incredibly gifted painter and engraver, an artist who saw the world in a way that was, honestly, completely ahead of his time.
You see, Blake was living during the Age of Enlightenment, a time all about science and reason. But he pushed back against all that. He felt that by focusing only on logic and the material world, everyone was missing the most important part of being human. Our inner life, that constant struggle between our darker impulses and our potential for something divine.
And what made him a true revolutionary was his process. I mean, this is so cool. He didn't just write a manuscript and hand it to a publisher. Nope. He created his books from scratch. He'd engrave the words and the images onto copper plates, print them, and then he and his wife, Catherine, would hand color every single page. Think about that. Every copy of his books was its own unique piece of art.
So what was his big idea? He called it the two contrary states of the human soul, which he dove into in his famous collections Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. And let's be clear, for Blake, this wasn't about good versus evil. Not at all. They were like two different lenses, innocence and experience, that we use to see the world. And you absolutely need both.
All right, let's start with the first state, innocence. This is a world of genuine love, of trust, of harmony. And the perfect poem to really get it is the divine image. Just look at this page. The colors are so warm, the lines are flowing and organic, kind of like gentle flames or growing vines. You see figures embracing. The whole visual just feels hopeful and gentle and so full of life. It really is the perfect snapshot of the spirit of innocence.
The poem kicks off by naming 4 key virtues. When we're in trouble, Blake says, we pray for mercy, pity, peace, and love. And when things are going great, we give thanks to those exact same qualities. They're like the foundation of our spiritual life.
But here, this is where Blake presents a pretty radical idea. In this state of innocence, God isn't some distant, all-powerful being way up in the heavens. No, divinity is found right here, within us, inside our best human qualities.
I mean, he literally maps these divine virtues right onto the human body. Mercy is our heart, pity is our face, love is our very form, and peace is the clothes we wear. So, in the world of innocence, to be fully human is to be divine. It's just a beautiful, incredibly optimistic vision.
It's a powerful idea, right? But Blake knew the world was a lot more complicated. And that leads to a huge question. What happens when we look at these same beautiful virtues through the lens of experience? What happens when they get corrupted?
And that brings us to the contrary state, experience. This is where we meet the shadow side, and we see it explored in the counterpart poem, The Human Abstract.
Whoa, the visual shift is immediate and it's jarring. The colors are all dark and earthy. We see this gnarled, dead-looking tree, and down at the bottom there's an old man who looks completely trapped, tangled up in what looks like a net or maybe roots. That world of harmony? Yeah, that's gone. This is a world of struggle and confinement.
So get this, the poem begins with a truly shocking argument. It takes those beautiful virtues we just talked about and just exposes their dark underbelly. It argues with this cold, cynical logic that pity can only exist if someone is poor. Mercy is only possible if someone is suffering. From this point of view, our virtues actually depend on the misery of other people. Ugh.
And then, Blake shows us how these twisted virtues grow into something monstrous. He describes the creation of a dark tree, not out in nature, but inside the human mind itself.
Let's just follow this grim progression, kind of like dominoes falling. First, poverty creates the need for pity. Then fear between people creates a fragile, selfish kind of peace. This allows cruelty to pop up, and cruelty plants a seed. That seed grows into a huge, dark tree of mystery, one that hides the truth and bears the fruit of deceit.
And here it is, the poem's absolutely chilling conclusion. You could search the entire natural world for this terrible tree of deceit, but you would never, ever find it. And why? Because it's not an external thing.
It grows right inside our own minds. It's a product of our own fear, our own selfishness, and our own cruelty.
So we've got these two incredibly different visions of humanity, right? One where we're basically divine, and another where our own minds create this forest of deceit. How in the world do we put them together?
Well, seeing them side by side like this really shows the whole picture. On the left, you have the light, the hopeful world of innocence, and on the right, the dark, tangled world of experience. This powerful contrast in both the words and the art is absolutely central to Blake's vision.
But here is the most important takeaway of all. Blake is not telling us to choose innocence and reject experience. He believed you need both. Think about it. Innocence without experience is naive. It can't survive in the real world. But experience without the memory of innocence, well, that becomes hopelessly cynical. To be a complete, wise human being, you have to understand both states of your soul.
And that leaves us with a final question, one that's just as relevant today as it was back in Blake's time. Think about your own life, your hopes, your fears, your moments of trust, and your moments of doubt. Are these two forces, innocence and experience, fighting for control inside of you? Or are they working together to make you who you are?